What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Real Talk with Leeds Therapy. Thank you as ever for stopping by. Genuinely, I really do appreciate it. On the screen somewhere you will see all of my socials. If you could give those a follow for me, I would really appreciate it. Also as well, this will be, shown's the wrong word, will be on and available on your podcast download. So it'll be on Apple, it'll be on Spotify. If you give those a follow and a rating for me as well, I'd really appreciate it. The important thing is please make sure you subscribed to the YouTube channel, nearly at 4K. Please also make sure that you comment. Please also make sure that you are liking the video, hype the video, all of that kind of good stuff, just to make sure that all of the relevant information is being shared as we would want it to be. Now, today's video is obviously trying to keep this the Real Talk thing chugging along as nicely as I can, but today's video is, I want to touch on the mental health side of things a little bit, specifically because of a comment that Farke made at the end of the game against Aston Villa, particularly in relation to Brendan Aronson. And he came out in quite staunch defence of Brendan Aronson. And he annoyed a few people as well, Daniel Farke, because they kind of feel like that he has used the mental health card a little bit as a bit of a lightning rod. And I think it's important to say, first things first, that we know that there is an issue with men's mental health in this country. We know how that goes. We know how that is kind of frowned upon a little bit, even still today. I myself suffer from mental health problems. I'm not looking for pity. I'm not looking for, for people to go, "Oh, you're doing really, really well." I manage it in my own way. I'm medicated. I probably will be for the rest of my life. It's what allows me to get up in the morning. It's what allows me to cope with what I'm doing. So I feel like I can, I can speak on this type of subject. And one of the things that I don't like to see is when somebody misinterprets something and then weaponizes it to make it a them and us kind of situation. Because Farke obviously spoke about as well that the guys in the dressing room see what's going on and they don't like it either. Now, I think he's referring to the chair that went up when Brendan Aronson came off. And I think it's important to note that the chair wasn't because Brendan Aronson specifically was coming off. The chair was more of an ironic chair along the lines of, we're making another substitution. That's what the chair was about. Brendan Aronson himself has said that he doesn't have an X account, so he doesn't see what's on there. So I know that a lot of people were annoyed about that and annoyed in relation to how they feel it was being used as a bit of a yardstick to beat people with. And I just think that Farke was a little bit tone deaf in what he said. Now, what I will say is, us as fans, we are no strangers to, what's the right word to use here? We aren't strangers in terms of the type of information that we put out. And the problem that we've got is that we have a lot of people nowadays that will quite happily put out information, quite happily put out the odd meme, and I've seen them, the Brokeback Mountain memes, the other bit of the Fred West ones, that type of stuff, which to me, I find a little bit offensive. Maybe that makes me soft-skinned, I don't know. I have a real issue when it comes to using tragedies to make a bit of a jokey point. I don't think it's right. That's why I don't like the Savile chants. I can't stand them. I think they're an absolute waste of time, particularly considering that he was nothing to do with the club. It's something that I find a little bit annoying. We know how we feel when the Chris and Kev stuff comes out. And again, that's something that just is disgusting, as is any form of tragedy chanting. But some of the stuff that we come out with as fans, we go a little bit too far, way too far. And I feel like in some occasions, or on some occasions, I should say, sorry, that people, I know we're an emotional bunch. You just look at the guy that came down and tried to storm the dugout at the weekend. I know that we all feel a particular way. We are all very, very passionate about our club and about what we want to do. And I know that we're all stressed out, but I wish that people sometimes would just take a minute to consider what they're saying and the actions of what they're doing and how that then affects other people. I mean, we had the incident with Bamford with people turning up at his house, for God's sakes, which is just absolutely repugnant and stupid. And we have to remember that these guys, as much as we don't think that they do care. Everybody does care. Everybody might act like they're all tough and it's all for banter and everything, but you never, ever know what is going on in somebody else's life. You never, ever know what is that potential finite thing that's going to push somebody over the edge. And we take it too far at times, and I'm using the royal we, or it's taken too far at times. And unfortunately, actions have consequences. And yeah, whilst it might be funny at that moment in time, and you might consider it just a little bit of banter and everything's all right, you don't know how that's actually going to affect that person when they go home and they get behind the closed doors and they're not in front of the camera, or they're not in front of the mates or with the mates, and how that's going to affect people moving forwards. Banter is banter. I understand that, and that's absolutely fine. But there's a line that you can cross that makes it not banter anymore and makes it just abusive. And, you know, people might call me a snowflake for that. People might call me whatever for that. And that's absolutely fine. And I understand that. But, you know, I'm 45 years old. I've got a 6-year-old son. And I would hate to think that I'm not setting the right type of example to my son. Unfortunately, like I said, in today's day and age, we have a lot of people who feel like it's okay to say whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, however the hell they want, particularly when it's behind an anonymous profile. What is it Mike Tyson said? He said that the internet has given people the cause to be able to get really, really brave and say things anonymously without the fear of getting punched in the face. And that's true at some, you know, in some respects. I just, like I said, I know how low I was, and I know how certain things affected me when I was younger, even now, how certain things affect me. And I think, oh, that's a little bit close to the bone. I mean, you know, again, I'm not saying this for pity. I'm just saying for things like, I suffer with quite bad skin on my back. So even though I go to the gym and I try to take care of myself, like going to a beach and taking my top off isn't something that I would really want to do, because I have quite a bad skin condition that really affects my back and my shoulders. I used to get teased about that when I was a kid. And when I was in my young 20s, when I was at work, I used to get called the leprosy boy. And while some people think, and, you know, fair enough, it's funny, where some people might think it's funny, there are some people that are, you know, not as thick-skinned as to be able to take that kind of stuff. And again, it's all right going, oh, well, you need to man up, stop being a snowflake. Again, what's okay for you isn't always okay for other people. And I just think sometimes, particularly when it comes to criticising football players or members in our team, we take it way too far because we're so impassioned about it, because we're so tribal about it, that the attacks become more than personal. They become more than what they actually should be. And it's a real shame that it gets to that kind of stage, or that it gets to that way, or that, you know, people think that it's okay to act that way, because it isn't. Like I said to you, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. You never know what's going on in somebody's life. You never know what's happened that day. And the way that people act and the way that people say things could have a really, really detrimental effect on the person that it's being aimed at. I always say, or we always say, particularly when we're doing the podcast on The View, or if I'm talking in my videos, criticising is absolutely fine. The way you do it is very, very important. We all should be able to criticise maturely, respectfully, without having to resort to personal insults, and sometimes quite downright nasty personal insults, be that towards players or be it towards other fans that are in that support the same team as you, just because they don't share your opinion. It then turns into insults, and then it then turns into this whole, you know, really detrimental to people's mental health. And it's an unfair situation to be in, and it shouldn't be like that. I know we're all stressed out at the moment. I know we're all feeling it at the moment, and we all feel like this wonderful opportunity of being in the Premier League is slipping away. And I know, listen, I get it. For some people, football is all that they have. It's all that they have. It's what their life focus is, and that's completely understandable. I suppose all that I'm asking is, particularly as far as mental health is concerned, just think about what you're saying potentially to somebody, and just think about how that could affect somebody. I know, because of the way that I am, and because, like I said, I take antidepressants, I take anti-anxiety medication. I would hate to say things that would make people feel or start people off on a path to feeling the way that I sometimes feel. I just felt, particularly after this weekend and stuff that I've seen on, you know, messaging boards and fan aspects and this, that and the other, it's just something that I just wanted to mention. I think the important takeaway from it is you never ever know what is going on in somebody else's life. And, you know, the criticisms of Brendan Aronson, and I'm using it because just it was on the main agenda from the end of the game. Brendan Aronson is Brendan Aronson. Yes, he gets paid a lot of money for playing football, but we're criticising him for the shortfallings in our club, or in the recruitment that we've had in our club. That should go to a broader criticism. It shouldn't go to a personal insult directed straight at one individual person. Just in my opinion. You can think that I'm wrong. That's absolutely fine. We can debate it and we can move forward on it, and we can say what we want to do, how we want to feel in any way, shape or form. But like I said, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the situation and just how I was feeling about it all. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Second episode of Real Talk. I thought this was quite a good topic to put on there. And I just, as an aside, anybody that is suffering from a mental health kind of thing or depression, or is feeling kind of low, if I can give you any bit of advice, is reach out and speak to your mates. Because your mates will always be sorry that you never, ever reached out, rather than just saying silent. Always talk. That's the most important thing. Take care of each other. Please, please, please. Most importantly, take care of yourself. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Cheers.